Hello. You weren't supposed to be saying that. My name is Breezy. This is Dark Academia for Insomniacs. Yes, I am an insomniac. Yes, I love Dark Academia. Yes, why the hell am I talking about Bohemianism? Well, in the great words I've recently discovered online, thanks to Google, anything can be Dark Academia if you really want it to be. And I love topics like this, and why the hell not, right? If you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please subscribe. Help a girl out. Um, there goes my skull. Um, do I want to grab it? Not really. But am I going to after this podcast? Because I do have laundry. I need to go move. I need to go get out of the dryer and move over to the washer. Nobody likes laundry. Why is that the most adult thing? Is that no one wants to do it? No one likes laundry. There's some weird people who do, and I'm like, that's just not normal. But anyway, um, we're talking about bohemianism. Now, when I was younger, I used to try to have a boho chic style. Now I feel like I have a gothic and more edgy style, and but I am curious though, like, when was you curious about what exactly is bohemianism aside from the aesthetic, right? Well, by definition, it is quality of being socially unconventional in an artistic way. Technically, yes, I am different than most people my age. I'm also very artsy, so let's put that out there. Um, but let's talk about bohemianism. Where did it start off with? Like, what's there's so much interesting stuff about this topic. For starters, is we gotta know the birthplace of bohemianism began in Paris as a cultural movement, particularly in neighborhoods like the Manwara and the Latin Quarter, whose artists, writers, and intellectual gatherers in cafes, salons, and studios, exchanging ideas and changing conventional norms, um, according to number analytics. Now, in London, Bohemia spread beyond Paris to influence other European cities like London. And in Berlin, it was also significantly impacted to spread as well. Now, how did it hit North America? And then what do we know about Greenwich Village? Did you know that's where the first 911 call? That was the call in the 911 in Greenwich Village that literally made changes to 911, where we now have one we can one way of calling them without having to go through many different lines. Look up the Kitty Genovese case. You'll thank me later. But in New York City, Greenwich Village emerged as a pivotal bohemian hub in the U.S., and it fostered counterculture movements characterized by individualism, experimentation, and creative expression. Now, the Beat generation of the 1950s and 60s were heavily influenced by bohemianism, which thrived there. And the city's bohemian scene also has roots in the American South, with some funding or, or originating from families who owned enslaved people in South Carolina, and that is according to Britannica. Now, in San Francisco, um, it is known for its vibrant counterculture, especially during the 1960s. San Francisco had a long-standing association with the bohemian lifestyle, and it is considered um, one of the top five world's best bohemian cities. Hear me out. I also think Chicago, if I'm being honest, because it's an artsy scene there. Honestly, I always tell my friend Bethany, like she really does fit the bohemian lifestyle, like with artsy scenes and stuff like that. And I think Chicago would be a great city for her, honestly. So, not wanting her to leave me too far. I was the one who left Alabama, so maybe considering her sister does live in New York, so maybe we can try to. I want her to be happy. I really do. And she always has given me like an artsy feel, so I feel like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago. Really, I feel like she would blossom there, honestly. Now, in Los Angeles, it is considered to be North America's most bohemian metro area. It is a high bohemian score and a clear affinity beyond the neo bohemia in the iconic architecture. According to now in Vancouver, it is ranked in the top 10 bohemian cities in North America. And now in Toronto, which is another North American city with a significant Bohemian cities. Even Greater Washington D.C., which is also part of this list. Now, this was also included on those lists, and I live like 45 minutes from the city, Nashville. I moved to Nashville a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago, actually. Damn, has it really been that long? Oh, I'm getting scrolled right now. Anyway, um, then surprisingly, Salt Lake City. I know. You would think it's from the Mormon influence there that and the cult influence there. They really wouldn't have much of a Bohemian influence. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for that one. Oh well. Then there's Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is another US city, Montreal, and all that. But in global news, like what are other places that actually have like a Bohemian city lifestyle for you? There's Kathmandu, Nepal. There's also um which is a long-standing hub for travelers and hippies embodying a blend of Eastern and Western influences, and is considered one of the top 5 world's best bohemian cities. There's Tulum, Mexico. Sorry, did not mean to say it like that. But and it combines natural beauty, historical significance, and relaxed bohemian vibe. And there's Dali, China. Okay, who would have thought that, honestly? Tell me, who would have thought that? Chinatown, maybe, but anyway. Then there's Go India, which is a historical haven for hippie movement and is related to the bohemian lifestyle as well. Then this I'm talking about the country Georgia, not the state Georgia, and this is Tbilisi, which is the capital city known for its chaotic yet dynamic atmosphere. Now, Bohemianism is a cultural and social movement that has, in its core, has been a way of life and for society's conventional norms and expectations. And the term originates from the French Boheme and spread to the English-speaking world. It is used to describe mid-19th century um, non-traditional lifestyles, especially with artists, writers, and journalists, and musicians and actors in the major European cities. And Bohemian is a 19th century historical literacy typos in the place the mellow and young metropolitan artists and intellectuals, and particularly those in the Latin quarters of Paris. For crying out loud. Now, Bohemians were also associated with the unorthodox and anti-establishment of political and social viewpoints throughout free love, fragility, and in some cases, simple living. Now, where the term came from France in the early 19th century is out to be perceived as similarities with um, similarities between the urban Bohemians and the Romani people. I also love learning about gypsies and stuff like that. Don't judge me. I love learning. I believe you never stop learning. I might actually do an episode on there once I get caught up. Ooh, tempting. Now, um, those have thought to have reached France by the 13th century via Bohemia. Now, Bohemianism in the adjective, um, can we get through this without having to go blow my nose? Hopefully. Um, in this adjective, Bohemian in the Pacific context and connected to the native immigrants of the historical region of Bohemia. I have to go blow my nose, so I will be right back. Sorry about that. At the time of this recording, I am currently getting over a cold. Which explains why my voice is hoarse right now in some spots. And unfortunately, I have a stupid, stuffy, runny nose that I wish would hurry up. It's like the more I blow my nose, it's more like how I keep getting stuff out of my head. I'm eccentric. I know you don't have to say it, but anyway, let's get back to the origins, shall we? Um, in European, like literacy and artistic Bohemians were associated with the French imagination, with the Roman Roma people, who were often preferably referred to as gypsies, and the Romani were called Bohemians and the French because they believed to have come from France, from Bohemia. And the title character in Carmen was a French opera by um, George Bizet, who was set in the Spanish city of Seville. It is referred to as Bohemian and Maui and Helvie. Now, in her signature aria, declares her love itself as a gypsy child, going where it pleases and obeying no laws. Now, another great example of bohemianism is in Henri Merger's 1845 collection of short stories, Scenes de la Vie de Mahom. My French is rusty, so bear with me. I did take French in high school. It may not look like it, but I did take it. But that was like almost 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago. So when you don't use something, it just doesn't stay in your brain as often. Now, in England, Bohemian is the sense was is this sense that initially was popularized in William Makepeace Thackeray's 1848 novel Vanity Fair. And public perception of the alternative lifestyle supposedly led by artists and further molded George de Maurier's romanticized best-selling novels of Bohemian culture and Tripoli. Now, in the culture outlines the fortunes of three exper- exporté English artists, their Irish model, and two colorful Central European musicians in the artist quarter of France. Now, in the Spanish literature, Bohemian impulse can be seen in Romain de Velle Inclán 1920s play Lucis de Bohemia. In the song La Boheme, um, Charles Aznavour described the Bohemian lifestyle as well. Now, how about the American Bohemianism? Well, I did a millennial pause. I can't help it. In the 1850s, Bohemian culture started to become the establishment in the U.S. via immigration. And in New York City in 1857, a group of 20 young culture journalists flourished in the self-described Bohemians until the American Civil War began in 1861. The group gathered at the German bar on Broadway and called Plattsville Cellar, and members included their leader Henry Clapp Jr., Ada Clare, Walt Whitman, Fitzhugh Ludlow, and actress Ada Isaacs Menken. And similar groups in other cities were broken up as well by the Civil War, and reporters spread throughout to report the conflict. Now, during the war, correspondents began to assume the title Bohemian, and newspapermen in general took the moniker. Bohemian became synonymous with newspapers writers in 1866. War correspondent Junius Honoré Brown, who also wrote for the the New York Tribune, and Harper's Magazine, described Bohemian journalism such as his way, um, with few carefree women, light-hearted men, and encountered during the war years as well. Now, Mark Twain himself and Charles Warren Stoddard in the Bohemian category in 1867. And then by 1872, when a group of journalists and artists who gathered regularly for cultural pursuits in San Francisco were casting, the term Bohemianism became the main choice, and the Bohemian Club was born. Now, club members were established and successful pillars of their community, respectful family men, and redefined their own form of bohemianism as well. Now, that is very interesting, though. Now, who were some people? Well, the term had become associated with various artistic and academic communities, used as generalized adjectives in describing such people and situations as bohemian or boho informal. So, let that sink in. But yeah, but that is it for this episode. Join me next time as we talk about dark romanticism. y'all have a great day and y'all enjoy this November weather we've been having or whatever weather it is by the time this episode comes out.